Yeah, sure. You're getting very popular, Ufuk.
Why?
I guess it must be because you're coming home.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people on.
maybe. Maybe I think people are pretty excited to see us back in New Zealand.
I'll just run through the injuries and then I'll pass off. But James McGarry, I presume he's back free and out, or is he still isolating?
No, he's out this morning. So
Josh Laws, have you got a game you're targeting for him to be back available?
The game against Central Coast, we're trying to get him ready for that one.
On Sunday?
Yes.
Do you reckon he'd be ready to start, or would it be like the others, a return?
It'll be a few minutes in the legs.
And then Oscar, where is he at?
Oscar's back at full training, which is good.
So he's available for selection tomorrow then?
That's right.
And then Gary is still hopeful he might be involved in the 2 games in May?
Yeah, we're still working to, we're hoping to get hoops on feet today, tomorrow.
Sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, we're trying to get hoops on feet, so we need to get some loading in his legs and then see how he pulls up from the load that he gets, and then we'll go from there. So we're still planning on trying to get him for the games in the back end of the season, so hopefully we can get him there.
And Clayton Lewis has been back here in Auckland doing his rehab. First of all, just what was the sort of thinking around him coming back and doing that? Was that something he wanted, and how has he been tracking in terms of that playoff target?
Yeah, he's been tracking well. Well, we sent him home because obviously he's been away and he was going to get the same treatment here whilst he's over there, and there's an opportunity so he can see his misses as well. So that's why we ended up sending him back. He's working with the national team physio back in Auckland, and he's tracking well. And the aim is to get him towards the back end of the season as well.
And just to check, is Gary taken up that opportunity at all to go back and see his family while he's been out, or has he been with you the whole time?
Yeah, he'll stay with us the whole time.
No, cool. Anything else injury wise? Otherwise, I'll hand off.
No more injuries. Everyone's okay. Obviously, everyone's just at different levels coming through their injured period and also through COVID. So we're still not at 100%, but we have players available.
Cool. Thank
you. If in terms of challenges and what has already been quite a challenging sort of couple of years, 7 games and 22 days with the injuries and the illnesses, how much of a challenge has this been for you in terms of your managerial career?
I think it's been very challenging in the sense, look, what makes it easier, I believe, is the structure that we have in place. Players coming in and understanding their roles and the clarity within the position that they play, I think has made it easier at times. We had a little bit of adjustment against the opponent that we played on the weekend, which I believe we needed. In one way, like I said, is getting our best players on the park, and obviously, we played so many games and so try to save the legs of the boys as well within the game. So look, there's been the challenges. The boys try to step up. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong. But like I said, I can never fault their attitude. And look, I always talk about the things that we can control, and that's mainly on the park and what we do in and around, the environment that we're in, and try to keep the boys focused.
Is keeping the boys focused easier or harder, knowing that they're finally going to get to go home after this game tomorrow night?
We spoke about it yesterday, coming back to New Zealand, obviously the scheduling and what we're going to do once we're back there. But, the boys know that we still have a job to do tomorrow evening against Perth. A very important game that we need to win. And I think once we get through that, and hopefully we get a good result and get 3 points, I think the boys will be absolutely buzzing to get on that flight back to New Zealand.
When you look at Perth, you mentioned about those changes you made for the last game. Will we continue to see those in this game, or will you revert a little bit more to what we've seen prior?
I think you'll have a good idea once we line up tomorrow in the game.
Well played, sir. Thank you.
Ufuk, Michael Burgess here. You've talked about targets a lot and how you keep resetting the targets for this group. From where you are now, is there something you're targeting in terms of the playoffs? Are you targeting fourth place or something, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, look, I'm not looking too far ahead, Michael, to be honest. We've taken it game by game. I said earlier that I think 37 points will possibly get us into the top 6. That's the aim at the moment, to get to that number. And if we get there earlier than expected, then we'll obviously push even harder to move up the table with the games that we have. But the aim is at the moment is to get those 7 points that we require to finish in the top 6, so we can play the final series.
And talking of the young players, you've used so many this year. Often you haven't really had a choice, but how do you assess when they're ready? Is it something you see in training? Is it instinct? I mean, what sort of things do you use to decide when to throw them in at the times when you do have a choice?
Oh, look, for me, it's look, we've got some very talented players coming through the academy. It's picking the games and picking the moments. I think it's easier for a young player to come on the park when the team is playing well and you're up maybe 2-0 or 3-0. It's a lot harder to chuck in a younger boy when you're down 2-0 or 3-0, because you're expecting them to influence the game and change the game. So it's finding those right moments, and at the same time, it's finding those right moments of putting them amongst the senior players. And look, for me, the most important thing is that we haven't had the luxury last season as well with players like Oldie that weren't able to train with us, us being based in Australia. So being in the environment at first, like we did with Sam Sutton, the first season I was there, he come and joined the group straight away. Didn't get much game time, but he was getting used to the training intensity, working with senior players. And it's just picking the right moments. I think, given the opportunities at the right times when things are going well, and not when things are going bad, and we're hoping these guys need to step up.
And just following from Nigel's question, do you see Gale as a possible long-term option centrally?
Yeah, look, Gale's been doing well. The only issue we have with Gale, he's a loanee at the moment. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done for him to come back for next season, because he's still contracted back in Mexico. So that's a discussion that we need to have. And obviously, if he's enjoying himself and wants to stay here, we'll have a discussion with him.
Oh, and I just meant in terms of his position.
Oh, you're talking about his position? Yeah, look,
yeah.
The good thing about Gale is he's a technical player. He's got engines he can run. Long term, we really didn't want to use Gale as a 6, but unfortunately, with our 2 starting 6s out, we've had to adapt. And look, he's done well in the last game. The back end of the Central Coast game, we just chucked him in there to get him on the ball so we can actually play some forward passes. So look, at this stage, you'll continue in that role, and we'll see how he goes.
Thanks, Ufuk.
Ufuk Barry, guy from RNZ Sport in Wellington. I'm working towards something for the weekend, so if you bear with me there. You talked about the players and trying to remain focused, but come this game on Sunday in Wellington, I mean, there's going to be a lot of excitement, a lot of noise. Do you turn that into a positive, or could it become a distraction?
No, I don't think so. I think the players have missed having support behind them within the game. I think last time we played there against Western United, we had a big crowd. Maybe the first 15, 20 minutes was a little bit, they were a little bit hesitant into doing what they needed to do. And once we got that first goal, then they started to play out of their skin. So I think the boys are very excited and looking forward to it, and having that noise behind them, supporting them.
I was going to say, having never achieved much at any of that sort of level, what does it bring to you and players with that noise in a big stadium and that sort of thing, and what you take from it?
Yeah, look, you need to understand, at the end of the day, the players are not robots; they're humans, and everybody loves a pat on the back. Doesn't matter what age you are, whether you're 15 or you're 60 years old. Everyone, loves to be told that they're doing a good job, or they're going out there and they're working hard for a purpose at the end of the day. So, the noise is very important. We haven't had that all season. We haven't had that support from fans all season. It plays a major role. It's a boost. It's the 12th man on the park, and the fans play a massive role with the boys getting that extra, spring in their step.
Thank you.
Ufuk, just on the 4-2-2-2, Arnie ball, as some people call it. Where did you first sort of get introduced to that as a way of playing? I mean, obviously it seems pretty logical. It comes out of Sydney FC.
Yeah, look, I've played many different formations. For me, Andrew, again, formation is a starting point. It's where players actually start the game. As the ball moves, players move and the opponent moves. I just like it because, the formation that we play, you need certain requirements, certain attributes in each position. Your sixes can't be the same as the tens. The tens need to be working in tight spaces and creative plays and scoring goals and assisting. And your sixes need to be able to be like playmakers. But when we don't have the ball, they need to be, covering a lot of ground and winning a lot of balls. So the attributes all change. And the reason why I like this formation is because it adapts very easily. It goes into a back three, which turns into a back five in build up. We can go into 3-10s. We can play with 1-6, 3-10s, 2-9s. It's a very adaptable formation, and at the same time, it gives us an extra layer. Where, for me, the way that we play in that formation, the player on the ball cannot say he doesn't have an option when he has the ball at his feet.
Yeah, and not trying to take anything away from your 78 matches as a head coach, but obviously it does sort of come from your time at Sydney FC.
Yeah, it does. From there's all learning from the coaches that I work with.
Yeah.
When I worked previously, we played a 4-3-3 with 1-6. Sometimes we played with 2 6s. Ange with the national team was playing a back five towards the back end of his tenure with the Socceroos. So for me, and the same questions I used to ask Ange was that's why he went into a back three or a back five, whatever you want to call it, and then he was working away to get his best players on the park. So sometimes, for me, like I said, the first year having 7 players open up the door for a clean slate and bringing in players that suited the attributes that we needed to play in those positions, and made it a lot easier to find those players. Not easy, but found those players that can do that role. So look, formation is a starting point. The principles don't really change whether we play a back five or a back four. They're pretty much still the same. It's just putting the players in the right area so they can be influential in the game.
Yeah, I guess just 77 matches. There were perhaps the odd little tweak here and there, more of a free, like you say, 3-10s versus 2 sometimes. But 77 matches, it was by and large the same sort of system. It was about, you weren't expecting changes, then you did pull one. The extent to which you were foxing at the start of the week when you sort of were pretty strong about not wanting to change because you have this style of play. Was that a big decision for you to actually arrive at that point, or was?
Yes, it was. It was a big decision. It was a big decision in the sense the decision was made, like I said, was how can we get the best players in the park?
Yeah.
Looked at the opponent that we were playing in the way that they set up, and also we looked at the amount of games that we played, and we're asking the players to back up. And look, you got to understand that Western United are a team that score a goal and are happy to defend for 89 minutes if they score in the first minute. So we did the opposite to them. We actually sat back and forced them to play and break us down, which we exposed in transition moments, which was what we worked on. And we used Josh's pace up top, and we did it quite effectively. And we got the result that we needed. And look, at the end of the day, results are important. That's what we're judged on as coaches. But I'm still a big believer in the brand of the football that we need to play.
No, cool. And just lastly then, on Perth, they're potentially the one team that's in a worse sort of state than you in terms of absentees, and they've also had some rough times in terms of travel, not quite as bad as you. But how big is it that you definitely take 3 points out of tomorrow's game?
Yeah, very important that we go out there with the right frame of mind to go out and do the job and get the 3 points. Look, at these games are probably harder to play against. Perth Glory have got nothing to lose. They're playing a lot of young players which have got a lot to gain for their futures if they want to stay at that club or continue with that club or even make a move somewhere else. So these games are very important that we stay focused and stay focused on our job at hand. And look, there's no easy game within the A-League. Don't look at the table. Sometimes the table can be deceiving at times. But look, like I said, we need to go out there, and if we get 3 points, it's a massive boost for us coming back to New Zealand.
No, cool. Thank you.
Ufuk, can I just have a quick follow on what Andrew was talking there? Given the success you had with that slight switch up, does that give you confidence that if you wanted to have maybe some more sort of tinkering when you look at opposition, maybe later in the year, hopefully in the playoffs, that gives you, how much confidence does that give you that players can adapt, react, and deliver in a short period of time?
Yeah, look, to be honest, we didn't have a lot of time to work on that little tweak, even though it was a little tweak. But it took us 15, 20 minutes to get into the game and understand the roles against Western United. And once we adapted, I thought we did well. It's for me, it's a pleasure to see that the players can adapt very quickly. I don't like having an extra player at the back. I'd rather have an extra player up the top that's going to score us a goal. And not let the opponent have the ball. And you guys should know me by now, the focus is always on us, not the opponent. We'll tweak a few things to stop them from getting an advantage and try to exploit their weaknesses as well. So for us, look, at the end of the day, I've worked very hard to move this team away from this underdog tag, mate. We're not underdogs. We can play football. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong. But we'll always go out there and try to play the way that we want to play. Sometimes, like I said, we'll win a game. But if we win the game, it's because of the way we set up in our structure.
Don't think anyone's calling you underdogs, Ufuk, just for the record. Just finally, in terms of how much time are you actually getting with the players on the field? You know, 7 games, 20 odd days. You mentioned about, not having much time. Can you actually give us some detail as to how much time you're getting with the lads on a training pitch in the last sort of 4 weeks? Yeah,
look, it's more so play, recover, and then depending on how many days we have in between with the players, like this game after Western United, we had a session yesterday, and we'll have a session today. At the same time, we can't do too much work because they're still recovering at the same time, but and we still need to get the information across of what the game plan is with the ball and without the ball. So what we do is we modify the session in the sense that what's most important part of the session, what we need to get across, and that's basically the tactical side of things for the players. Look, they still need to do the work, so they get a bit of work done at the same time, but we look at the session and go, what's the most important? And that's the tactical side of things to get the outcome on the game that we're going to play.
Thank you.
There's no point of conditioning anymore because they're getting their conditioning from the 90 minutes that they're playing.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Sorry, just to double check, James obviously back today, but he's not going to be any chance of being involved tomorrow night?
It could be a possibility. He's been symptom-free the whole time he was in isolation. He's going to see the doctor this morning to get cleared, so he'll be available for the session today, and we'll see how he goes through the session, and then we'll make a decision whether he's required for the game tomorrow.
Cool.
Great. Any final questions?
Cheers, guys. I think I see you guys very often these days. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. So,
Cheers, Ethan.